Aloha, the ACLU of Hawaii hosted a candidate forum in anticipation of the upcoming Honolulu prosecutorial race. I was happy to join them for the ACLU of Hawaii's first ever prosecutorial Honolulu candidate forum, but I was encouraged to submit 2 questions, right? And I did, but none of the questions that I submitted were addressed or answered. My 2 questions were, are you willing to give a sincere effort into investing all cases of incarcerated inmates who claim actual innocence? My second question was, are you willing to look into the correlation of the state's partnership with the nonprofit private prison and the state's increase in length of sentences? Because Hawaii has the highest length of sentences that are given to people. Neither one of my 2 questions were addressed nor answered. I have a problem with that. Don't invite me to a forum and invite me to ask questions and not answer my questions. I have a problem with that.
My name is Jackie Esser. I am a career public defender. I'm running for prosecutor to end mass incarceration. As a public defender, I've seen how prosecutors have been destroying lives, families, and communities, wasting millions of our dollars and failing to make us safe. It's time we invest in our communities, in education, and stop investing in our jails and prisons. Mass incarceration has caused generational trauma and harm to our most poor, our Native Hawaiians, and communities of color. We absolutely can create a more fair and just system. I have been fighting for these things my entire legal career, and I will continue to do so as your prosecutor.
Jackie Esser is the only public defender fighting to transform our system. She's the only candidate not brown-nosing Steve Alms. She's one we can trust. Vote Esser, E-S-S-E-R.
I have the credibility and supervisory experience to do that because I was both a felony team captain and the director of a division when I worked at that office. I then ran the U.S. Attorney's office, and then I was a judge for 15 years.
Most of the women who are currently at prison are failed quote probationers or failed community supervision, not because they committed another crime. That's how hope probation works. It's criminalizing substance use disorder, and we're never providing treatment, which ultimately ends up these women at prisons. We need to support in reentry programs like Fernhurst, an amazing program that 86% success rate. We need more of these programs. We don't need more prisons, we need more Fernhurst. This is a program that succeeds 86% of the time. Our prison system is failing 54% of the time. It makes no sense. Stop investing in our prisons and jails. Start investing in our communities. Stop our women from going down this path of violence to begin with.
When Black people are accused of a crime, Steve Alms does not see them as people. He only sees them as criminals. If my son were seen as a fully human rather than a monster and a person with family, friends, feelings, and desires, a person with flaws, but who is capable of redemption, it would have been impossible for Steve Alms to sentence him to life plus 90 years in prison when it had not even been proven that he committed the crime. And he has no previous criminal convictions, meaning that he had never been convicted of a crime because it had not been proven that he was the shooter and the victim was bringing drugs into the island and no innocent bystanders were harmed or injured. A life plus 90-year sentence was not fair. Around 2.3 million people are caged in this country at any given moment, more than in any other country in the world now or in recorded history, and about 4.5 million more on probation or parole. 1 or 2 adults in the United States has had a family member in jail or in prison, and the suffering behind these numbers, the devastation they represent, not just individuals but to communities and through generations, is profound. Prosecutorial misconduct undermines the presumption of innocence, a fundamental principle of our criminal system that applies to all people. The state accuses of crime. It erodes the constitutional right to a fair trial, and it constitutes to some of the most shameful statistics produced by our society.
I think we have almost a unique system in the United States, and I would try to change it.
Age of 20, I was involved in an armed robbery. Upon my arraignment, I was given a $100,000 bail and sent to OCCC, where I experienced overcrowded cells, extended lockdown periods, and the cancellation due to short staff. Being that it was my first offense, I was also offered the Youthful Offender Act and was given an open A term. After arriving at HONOLULU, I kept my head down, I followed rules, I stayed out of trouble, and wrote music every day. I saw the parole board, and despite not having any write-ups, never having been sent to the holding unit, and complying with facility rules and regulations, I was told that I was still a danger to the community and received 7 out of the 8 years, which is over 90% of my max out time for a first offense. Being cut off from my family once I was at Scarro started to take a toll on my mental health. But my sister's continuing guidance helped me to stay true to my goal of getting out and recording music. I started to see other people getting requests of cut time approved who had write-ups and did other things. After my 4th year in Scarro, my sister enlisted a lawyer and I submitted a request for a shortening of minimum. The prosecutor at the time still considered me to be dangerous, so my request was denied. I didn't cause any further trouble nor prove myself to be the same individual as I was on one day in my past. I've acknowledged the wrong I've done and the trauma that comes from being on both sides of a committed crime. There was no new information to say that I was still a danger and threat to the community, yet the prosecutor blocked me multiple times from a reduced minimum, judging me based on one day. That takes away from any growth that I gained to be a better human being. My question is, do you think a prosecutor should be involved in the parole process?
The judge should be the one giving the sentence, not the parole.
The prosecutor has to use their discretion and keep people out of our system who do not need to be there. And so services is number one.